Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, let's talk about this young man, Bernie Ecclestone. The head of Formula One ruled it with an iron fist for well over 30 years. But since Bernie actually sold off Formula One to a group called Liberty Media, well, Liberty Media didn't even let the ink dry when they got the paperwork all signed up to kick poor old Bernie here to the curb. Mr. Ecclestone will have somewhat of an advisory role, but even according to Mr. Ecclestone, he doesn't even know what that capacity is right now, and thinking that there will be very little as far as way he used to run this particular series. And we'll have a whole lot more about this later in this broadcast, including his successor. But let's move on to cars. Let's talk about this machine. If you don't know about this machine now, I'll clue you in. This is the Hennessey Venom GT. Hennessey is a tuning group out of Texas. John Hennessey and his group grossly overpowers some of the greatest automobiles from all over the planet. In fact, they kind of came to fame for putting twin turbochargers on 8-liter, normally aspirated V10s in Vipers. Now, these particular machines could make upwards of 2,000 horsepower, and like I said, grossly overpowered. Fast forward, John Hennessey seeing a Lotus Exige, thinking, would love to put a twin turbocharged V10 in one of those, and then started thinking that isn't such a bad idea. Got some Exiges, lowered them, made them wider and longer, but ditched the V10 idea in favor of a General Motors 7-liter, normally aspirated V8, like out of last generation's Z06. But they screwed on a couple of turbochargers on it, and now that 7-liter twin turbocharged V8 now makes 1,451 horsepower. That is shifted through a 6-speed sequential gearbox, and this vehicle only weighs 2,743 pounds, so it is a featherweight, especially for that kind of power. 0 to 60 comes in at right around 3 seconds. This vehicle has gone 270.4 miles an hour. They couldn't get the world record on that deal because the facility they were, when they tried to make that run, wouldn't allow them to run in the opposite direction, which is what the Guinness Book of World Records makes you do for that particular deal. They did take the top off the vehicle. This is a Target top. You can take the top off these vehicles. And it went 265.6 miles an hour, and that is a world record. Now, Hennessey's only built 13 of these machines since 2010, which means it's a rare bird, and the chances of ever seeing one in person are slim to none. In fact, this particular vehicle, the 13th one, is the final one that's ever going to be built. And if you're hoping to get your grubby little mitts on it, too bad. It's already been sold for $1.2 million, unless you can convince buying off of the new owner. Now, don't fret too much because Hennessey's already working on a 2.0 version of the Venom GT. So we should know more by the end of the decade, hopefully, know more about that particular machine. There's a lot of talk that thing's going to be going way faster than the old Venom GT here. Next up on the list, remember the Ford GT. Ford's doing something kind of weird. They're announcing performance numbers, which I know doesn't sound weird, but the sheer fact that several of these GTs have already reached their new owners, yes, these vehicles have already gone home with their new owners, and now Ford is going to announce the performance numbers for this vehicle. It's kind of weird. That being said, the 3.5-liter EcoBoost twin turbocharged V6 makes 647 horsepower and 550 pounds-feet of torque. That is shifted through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. The vehicle only weighs 3,053.84 pounds. Ford is yet to release a 0 to 60 number, but has said that this vehicle is the fastest Ford ever built at a top speed of 217 miles an hour. I think this vehicle's biggest trick is, and if you ever get to see the video of it, it is pretty impressive indeed, is putting this vehicle in track mode, where this vehicle instantly gets into race mode. All the shutters are shut as far as making cooling of the all going for maximum downforce, including the wing springing straight up into the air as high as it'll go, and the vehicle lowers 50 millimeters, which slams it right down on the ground. It's very impressive to get to see. Now, Ford is only going to build 250 of these for the year, and those are already sold out. There's going to be a lottery, or I guess not a lottery, but more of an application process for you to own the next go round of them that'll be coming out later this year. So, now probably the weirdest little party piece of this vehicle in the geek numbers that we've been going over are its fuel economy numbers. EPA fuel economy numbers are hilarious. 11 in the city and 18 on the highway. Yes, a Viper V10 makes better fuel economy numbers than the old Ford GT. Speaking of the Viper V10, let's talk about that particular machine, because the Viper owner group here in the United States is doing something rather interesting. They've started up a GoFundMe account to try to send a pair of ACRs back to the Nürburgring Nordschleife loop. Back in the day, an ACR Viper made a lap around in 7 minutes 12.13 seconds. That's pretty doggone fast, and they feel that they can go quicker yet. The Viper Exchange has donated 2 brand new ACR Vipers to make the trip, and if they can get a hold of the funds, that being somewhere around $160,000 to $200,000, they are going to ship those 2 cars along with all the personnel that's going to run it, all the parts and pieces they're going to need, along with a driver to actually make this lap possible. They're thinking this vehicle can go under 7 minutes. In fact, their benchmark is for the Porsche 918 Spyder. Now, this is an interesting deal to say the least, and I'll put the GoFundMe account up on the Facebook page if you'd like to donate. In fact, depending on how much you donate, you can get anything from, well, getting your name in the official records if they do get this deal done, along with, if you do enough, you are invited to be there at the Nordschleife Loop when the record run happens. They're hoping to do this in April of 2017, so it's a pretty interesting little situation as far as I'm concerned. Last up on the list, this is Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn is many-time Formula One championship winning strategist, Formula One championship winning car owner, and now the new Bernie Ecclestone. Kinda. He will be filling the shoes that Bernie Ecclestone was doing. Liberty Media tapped Mr. Brawn to actually run the series, and I have to say, I think Formula One's in some good hands. In fact, Mr. Brawn has already said that he thinks that a lot of the things that have been going on over the past several years have kind of artificially tried to make the racing good. He plans to change a couple of those things over the next 4 or 5 years. I know one thing I really hope that they don't do is that drag reduction system. I, for one, actually think that works very, very well. Would love to see that implemented or stay implemented in Formula One. We only got a couple of months before March is going to kick around and Melbourne and the 2017 Formula One circus is back in play. So we may know a whole lot more about Mr. Brawn's intentions about the future, and hopefully Formula One's got some bright futures ahead. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. The link's down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.